Well, I mean, I know you're right, but I think that probably is not operative. I think we said you needed to send a new.
Would you like to make that request now, Jackie?
I'd like to make
I think
that
it has to be
request
right.
now. I am not.
Just shoot me an email saying I am not showing up because of medical.
Okay, and that goes to Frank?
Yes, yeah, you can copy John too, that's fine.
Okay, I'll send it
One of
right
us can
now.
check our email. No, we just need that, and then then it needs to be reflected in the minutes that you are participating virtually because of a medical. And I have approved, if I have to approve, I get that. I think, do I have to approve? I think
Yes.
we said that there is a lot of leeway on that.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. I can see a blue wall.
Oh.
Yeah, the tech guy's coming up to see what's going on with it.
Okay, great.
You see that blue wall.
I don't.
Hello, Phil. How you doing?
Oh, wait.
Hey, now I see one person.
All right.
I saw someone walk in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah, I think it's just maybe.
How many more?
It probably just needs to be zoomed out.
I don't think.
There we go. Okay.
I
Oh,
think-
that's good. All right.
So on the tablet that controls the room should be the camera controls as well, where you can zoom in and out. And you can also angle the camera. So you might want to try zooming out, and we'll see how that works.
You look great, Frank.
Got a haircut this week and everything.
All right. Oh, I see zoom out. It's happening.
There we go. All right.
There we go. Hey,
Oh, it's reversed.
All right.
hello, everybody.
All right. We're getting there.
Now, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to get a lot of people on camera, but you know, we usually are happy if we can get 5 or 6. It looks like I've got about that many chairs on camera now, so that's good. That's a start.
All right. Well, perfect. Counting Jackie, we're just too shy of a quorum.
Yeah, so from my recollection, Jackie alerted us to her medical request in the last meeting, and it was approved by you as the chair
Yes.
verbally.
Okay. And
I think that's fine.
okay.
I just sent another request.
Okay, good. I told her to send me because I
Okay.
think her email previously, I think, would predated our actual adoption of the. So we
Well,
just
I think
wanna
I
make sure
actually
we
did it
all
at
in a
that
row.
meeting.
Especially with those
I did it at that
$2,000
meeting, and I was allowed
fines
to.
they talked about. I don't want to have any of that coming down on me.
All right, I did do it at the meeting, and I was allowed to
For violation of
participate
the
in the
open
remainder
meetings
of the
law.
meeting.
Right.
Like
And
her-
I think, so Frank, going forward, Jackie can be part of your quorum. That's totally fine.
Right?
Anybody who requests a medical exemption and you approve that, you don't need to know why.
Right.
It's just quote unquote non-described medical exemption is fine. Once you approve that, they can participate remotely as part of the quorum.
Right.
And the only requirement we have from the Commonwealth is that the minutes reflect the location of the remote individual. So it would say Jackie Snelling attended remotely from home due to medical exemption. And that's it. So we just need to.
Yes, I am at home, and you can say I am at home.
Yes. So, or if she were traveling, you could say was at the Westin Hotel in Richmond or something. They just would like for our minutes to be descriptive to the location of the person.
All right, Kevin, are you also?
Yeah, you know what? I hear everything. I'm gonna for the sake of trying to get a quorum tonight, because we're short, right?
Yes.
Are we short quorum? So if that's okay, I'd like to request one. My medical reason is, you don't need to know, so we're gonna go with that.
Nope.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna send you an email right now, Frank. And
Right,
are we gonna?
I don't. It's on a need to know basis. I don't need to know.
Okay, if that's okay. I
Correct.
apologize,
Send
but
me an email and tell me where you're
yes,
meeting from.
absolutely. Okay.
All right, so we're one shy. I think we just need one.
No, bummer.
I think maybe we should give wait another minute. We're at
I think we
5
should
minutes
wait a
past, since
few
the
minutes.
public may be out there tuning in saying, what kind of meeting is this? I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we should wait a few minutes because we're in a different location tonight.
Oh, that's true, yeah. And it is a little funky getting in.
A little bit difficult to find.
So Frank, can you request your own exemption?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't, yeah.
Approved.
Okay. I think I have to ask him. I think I have to ask him in this case. I think that might be.
I can see a sweetheart deal in the making.
That's right.
The statute is silent on it, I think.
That's right.
I can't hear a thing.
All right, let's see. Okay, we're just one shy. We'll give it another minute or two here. Yeah, I didn't hear from anybody that they weren't coming. So,
Neither did I.
in the past, that's been common practice.
There you go.
All right, I think this is it.
All right.
Okay, just who we
Laura.
wanted to come.
Yeah.
We have an almost official quorum here.
All
All right, with-
Long reach of that Dylan.
That's right. All right, with this, I think now, let me check to make sure I think we'll assume that we've got, let me.
I'm working on it.
Kevin, you need my email there? You
No,
got it?
I got it.
All right,
just
but
gonna
we'll
pull it up.
consider you approved and
Okay, thanks.
part of our quorum. We are now at a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order. Is there any public comment? Please? The other Kevin I thought was on for a bit there, but maybe he's not. Maybe it was Kevin Robbins I saw. All right, any public comment? Well, there being none, we will move to the chair's update. All right, and the update is, well, John and I are still not official yet, but we will be approved as chair and vice chair at the October meeting, hopefully. But Laura, our newest member, has been approved as of this month. So we would like to welcome you officially to the Information Technology Advisory Commission, or Tech Commission as we are rebranded. Anyway, that being the case, can you tell us a little?
All right.
Hey, okay, we're getting there for a physical quorum also.
All right.
I figured it'd be best as sort of a tradition for the new member to introduce themselves, tell your background, or what you're doing. And then the rest of us will introduce ourselves. And this is especially pertinent because we have the new CIO, Norrin Lee, here. So he'll get to hear why we're here and what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, great to meet everybody. My name's Laura Gross. I've been in the DC area for about 3.5 years now, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My background is in cybersecurity, and that's what I currently do at Accenture right now. I'm a security consulting manager for them. I work with a variety of clients from financial services to products. I specialize also in cloud security. I'm certified in all of the major CSPs as well. So yeah, really looking forward to working with you guys and what we get done here.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thanks.
Andrew, you want to?
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrea Wingo. I've been with the commission now for a year. I am a doctoral student at Marymount University in cybersecurity. I also have a background in cybersecurity as I work for AT&T, supporting the State Department as well as the agency there in McLean. So always glad to come out here and just kind of help, our Arlingtonians to include myself. So just glad to be a part of this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bill?
Phil, excuse me, Phil Carr, been a member of this commission forever, almost as long as Frank.
Which is twice forever, actually.
I've been in Arlington County since the early 70s. Long career in telecommunications, satellite, fiber optics, Bell Labs, switching. Currently certified financial planner, and interested in all things financial as well as technical. And I guess that's about it.
All right. I'm Frank Jazza. I'm the, acting chair or interim chair, however you want to qualify it. Previously, I was the vice chair. And before that, I was the chair. And before that, I was the vice chair. And before that, I was just a run-of-the-mill member. And it's now actually 22 plus years that I've been on here. So, yeah, I think when I first joined, we used to meet with a couple of Dixie cups and a string between them. So we've had a little bit of advancement since then. Anyhow, I was a telecommunications attorney for 35 years with the Roslyn-based firm of Fletcher, Heald, and Hildreth. I was the co-managing member of the firm for over 20 years. Retired about 3.5 years ago, and still keeping my hand in it here. And also, I'm on the advisory board of the Rockefeller College of Public Affairs, Public Policy at the University of Albany. I'll be heading up to New York tomorrow. We've got our anniversary there, and actually, the Center for Technology and Government is based there at Rockefeller College. So, anyhow, that's my story. John?
John Burke, lifelong Arlingtonian, hopefully rising vice chair. I've been a member of the commission since 2019. And my professional background is in enterprise systems acquisitions, strategic IT planning, and product management, so mostly software.
I'm Michael Cornfield. I've lived in Arlington since 1994. Professor of political management at George Washington University, and my specialty is politics and media and civic engagement.
All right. Jackie?
Yep. I don't remember when I joined this commission because I was the liaison from the Emergency Management Preparedness Commission for quite a while. And then I joined separately. My background is I'm active in Civic Federation. I'm actually this year's chairman of the board there. And we have had programs and been following both privacy and public guidance on cybersecurity. I'm retired from FEMA, where I worked on policy and various things, including emergency communications and the system of alerts, public guidance on cybersecurity, and risk analysis for policy for policy on privacy.
All right. Kevin?
Frank, you got the email. I should have it by now.
All right.
Lifelong county, not lifelong county, born in the county. Have a background in telecommunications engineering and planning. Currently a federal contractor, started contracting, working on the Enterprise Infrastructure Solutions contract, which is a big federal telecom contract. But currently I'm working on the credentialing program, part through GSA. That's all I got.
And, Richard, you want to tell?
Sure.
Sure.
My name is Richard Archambault. Yeah. Richard Archambault. I work for the county, have been with the county since December of 2018. I look after information security and privacy for the county, as well as a side gig in looking after regulatory affairs in the cable television space. I came from media and entertainment to government, and I understood the world of Comcast, so I was asked to help look after Comcast and Verizon, who are our two incumbent cable television providers. So I'm here as your staff liaison. If you have questions for the county, I just ask that Frank send me a written set of questions at the conclusion of the meeting, and I work and do my best behind the scenes to get you answers to those questions. So here to help.
All right. I think, well, why since we've got some other, Louise, if you want to let everybody know who you are, so
Of course, Louise Anderson. I'm the FiOS TV franchise manager for Verizon, so I'm the regulated party.
Right.
I'm the one he's watching.
That's right.
Yeah, and I've been with Verizon in this job for almost 9 years, so been around. Happy to help.
All right. Thank you. And Angela, she makes everything run. So I'm not sure if she's actually on right now, but she's up. So, but Angela Easterwood is also with the county and helps provide support to our commission. I've got a couple other quick administrative items. We do have one vacancy, so we're at 12 right now, or we're authorized for 13 commissioners total. As you're aware, Mike Carlton resigned. We did circulate his resignation letter. So if you know of anybody who might be interested in joining the Tech Commission, encourage them to apply through the county website, and we will, John and I would like to talk to them, see their interest, and then repass it on to our board liaison, Takis Karantonis. Okay, one final matter. As we've discussed over the last several months, the county is right in the process of doing its franchise renewals for both Comcast and Verizon, and that's cable only. And anyhow, we've not yet received an official green light, but it's possible that our October 26th meeting may be used for a public hearing on the franchise renewals for both. I think Comcast is upcoming in December of 2022 and Verizon June of 2023. But as things stand now, hello, Gary, welcome. As things stand now, we would, unless there's a reason we shouldn't, we would do a combined public hearing on both franchise renewals. So it's important to recognize that our only jurisdiction is really with respect to the cable service itself, not the packaging of services, not the rates, not internet services or telephone. So it's a very narrow scope. County does have limited authority regarding use of the rights of way and customer service for video services. So anyway, so that's, but anyhow, but that was, our traditional role is providing that opportunity for public input on the franchise renewals. And we did start out as the cable commission. So we are morphed as technology is morphed. So anyhow, we do have one new member here. So Gary, we've introduced Laura, who is our newest member. I think you met her at last month's meeting, but we then went around and introduced ourselves and provided our background. So you're up now.
You want me to do a quick intro once he's done?
Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, as soon as he's done. Yes, yeah, I think. Or I should do the intro to you, but I don't think that you could do it.
Who wants to go?
No, go ahead, Gary.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Thayer. I've been with the commission now for, I think, about a year.
I think so.
Right, more or less. Prior to that, federal government career employee, Federal Communications Commission as an attorney, also patent and trademark office, intellectual property. And prior to that, I've done some nonprofit work as well. That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, Gary. All right, well, okay. Our next item on the agenda is
just short and sweet. Normally, been with the county for about 6 months now. 4 months in previous role as the deputy director, and now 2 months as the director of CIO. Before that, I was with NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, for 6.5 years. Various roles: law enforcement, cybersecurity. My final role there was the deputy CIO and the chief data officer. I was the first chief data officer for the agency. Prior to that, I had worked in various jobs in contracting, federal government. Had a previous stint I had worked with General Electric aviation business as a chief security architect. I have a very strong cybersecurity background. For those of you with cybersecurity. Prior to that, I was a 20-year Marine, so retired from the Marine Corps back in 2006.
all right, there you go. Keep them apart. All right, well, we look forward to working with you. I don't know if anybody has any quick questions for you, but we look forward to working with you over the coming months.
Absolutely.
Yes, just one quick one. What's the size of your staff right now, roughly?
About 98, I believe.
All right. Anything else for Lauren?
I just think we would love to hear, once you've got your feet on the ground and you've been able to form it, kind of what your vision is for DTS going forward.
Absolutely. But, yeah. Generally do 90 days, observe, see what's working, what's not, and start formulating from there. But yes, happy to do that.
Great. Thank you.
All right, I guess we'll move on to our finalize our legislative priorities. Recommendations to the board. John circulated some language.
I did have one addition from Phil. I just incorporated it into this one Word doc to go over it regarding, yeah, there we go. Okay, on the, so we had discussed kind of 4 items. Top 2 were things we had discussed last meeting. First one is around kind of the FedRAMP-like program for Virginia. There doesn't seem to be a program like that that's accessible to municipalities right now from a government partner. There may be, I think, Richard, you said that there were commercial services similar to this. But this recommendation is really about creating that standardized approach to security assessment, authorization, and continuous monitoring for cloud technologies that would eliminate duplicative efforts, both for municipal government, special districts, and also obviously the commercial cloud service providers, right?
These recommendations.
I would encourage you to reference State Ramp or another similar group here to provide context. I know you weren't endorsing specifically State Ramp, you just wanted something in that genre. But I think for the folks in Richmond, it helps to provide that comparison so that they understand the world you're talking about.
Sure. That's good feedback. And there's a question in the room. Michael Korn asked if these were in priority or alphabetical order, and they were in the order that they came out of my head last night.
So the fact that they're in alphabetical order is coincidence.
Coincidence.
Or an illustration of your extremely organized mind.
No, just coincidence. Just coincidence.
I'm gonna give you props.
Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any comments on, I want to go take them one by one.
So I had specifically avoided referencing FedRAMP or State Ramp explicitly because I don't want someone to say, oh, well, we don't want to do FedRAMP, not good, or State Ramp, not good, right? And the legislature may want to take a completely different approach to it than those programs set up. And so this is really just a generic recommendation about how the Commonwealth might support the adoption of cloud technologies by municipal governments in a more economical way that's also supports high quality cybersecurity assurance activities. So as our new cloud security expert, Laura, how do you feel about this?
I'm curious, do we know like what cloud like the county's mainly in?
Azure, I think.
I believe that just from not hearing anything from
right.
DTS, but just from observing, I've seen that there's a lot of storage on AWS. I see a lot of documents come up on AWS when I go clicking through the website. And then obviously as a Microsoft consumer, there's lots of Azure. So it seems like at least just from a citizen's perspective that there's at least a multi-cloud situation happening, which is typical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to reference State Ramp or FedRAMP, maybe just pick a kind of neutral framework that they could reference, whether it's from the Cloud Security Alliance. They offer pretty good best practices from an agnostic point of view.
Sure. Do you have a language? Because we need to send these tonight, so sorry, I put you on the spot. Security authorizations, for example.
Yeah. For example,
Security alliance best practices or something along those lines.
yeah.
hard to type with the lag. Cybersecurity is one word. Should probably be capitalized. Richard, does that kind of address your comment and suggestion as well?
You're muted.
He's
Richard.
muted.
Darn it. So yes, that does help. I just, from my experience when talking to folks in Richmond, there's always a lot of what's something I can compare this to. And so that helps. That provides two comparisons that we can have conversations about. And I think that that's good. Thank you.
Any other comments, suggestions?
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adoption of cloud service as a recommendation. Anybody?
I'll move.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Or abstentions? Oh, looks like it carries.
Great.
On to number 2.
And my mic wasn't on. That was a yes.
Okay, thank you.
So for advanced technology, kind of coming out of the Clarendon Innovation Zone project and the exposure that we got to the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative, as well as the briefing that we received from the innovation, I forget the exact name of it, the innovation zone, the test bed that's happening out in Stafford that's being supported by the Innovation Partnership Authority, which is a Virginia authorized authority, as well as the soon to be opened and expanding Virginia Tech Innovation Campus and the George Mason University Institute for Digital Innovation. This was just mostly to express support for continued funding and support for those initiatives and initiatives like those as good things that the Commonwealth should keep doing, because we benefited a lot from those expertise and will benefit a lot from the available expertise of these publicly stimulated initiatives.
I'll provide a little context.
I guess the Center for Innovative Technology, have they changed the name on that, CIT? Shouldn't that be included too? I mean,
The Center for Innovative Technology has been rebranded as the Innovation Partnership Authority.
Oh, that's okay. All right. All right. I should have.
No, you shouldn't.
I-
The only way you would have known it is if you went and looked up
Right,
Center for
okay,
Innovation
yeah, yeah.
Technology.
Actually,
Seen it.
CIT
Their
actually invested
announcements.
in my son's startup, so.
Yeah, it's
so,
I will ask a question.
Yes.
Okay, so team support for advanced technology, what? Advanced technology, what?
in the Commonwealth, just generally. I mean, these are all investments that the state legislature's making in terms of funding, authority, prioritization, and staff resources that advance technology, generally speaking, in the Commonwealth.
Advanced
Do these
technology
tend to be-
adoption, investment?
Research and development, adoption, workforce planning, training.
Okay, so it's all encompassing.
It's total.
Right.
Do these tend to be annual appropriations or are they multi-year?
I think it depends on the situation, but we hadn't put this in our legislative priorities as a county previously. And so, but there were several other items where last year's legislative priorities were just voicing support for things that were ongoing that we wanted to make sure the legislators knew that we thought were good things.
I just wanted to know if that would be expiring. The money might be expiring in the coming
Not,
fiscal year.
not that I'm aware of specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we might well put the word information before technology.
Sure.
We're not talking about steam engines here.
I don't know, the steam engine was categorized as advanced, but.
Whatever.
I got you.
Bio-
I'm with
we're all
you.
about
Back in the
Friendly
day- back in
amendment,
the day.
friendly
Broad
amendment,
subject.
yeah, friendly amendment accepted.
All right.
Should probably be capitalized.
I got a question.
A request for status quo continuity, or
Right.
do we feel like this whole complex is underfunded somehow?
It's just a vote of confidence for status quo continuity. Should anybody come along and decide, you know how we're going to balance the budget this year, we're going to cut this.
All right. Sign me up.
All right. Any other comments, additions, questions?
I
Well,
will jump in.
I got
Okay,
one.
second.
Oh,
Oh, we did it. Okay.
Yeah, just real quick, like Virginia Tech, don't they have like an innovation lab with like Amazon? Weren't they kind of doing something down in Alexandria? And so that kind of brings in private industry as well.
yeah, that is the Virginia Tech Innovation Campus portion of this.
Okay.
And I tried to limit it to the things that were relevant to Arlington specifically, not every tech initiative that exists. There are many, many more in the county, in the Commonwealth. But yeah, that Innovation Campus and the George Mason University's Institute for Digital Innovation were both part of the economic development package that that the Commonwealth put together to attract Amazon's second headquarters.
And it's the George Mason Institute. Is that at the Arlington?
That is at the Arlington campus specifically.
All right. Well, we had a motion to adopt. Do we have a second now? Second. All in favor? Say aye. Any nays? Any nays? No? Abstentions? No? All right. Looks like it.
Aye, that's an aye.
Adopted.
So this
And
one
please
was.
add to the minutes, that was a yes from me.
Thanks,
Okay,
Jackie.
thank you.
This one actually specifically came, Jackie, from your comment last time where we didn't kind of have anything on privacy. And I kind of put this together. It occurred to me in between the meetings, so we haven't really discussed it before. But the Consumer Data Protection Act that Virginia adopted a year or so ago, really kind of leading the country right behind California in terms of protecting consumer data. One of the requirements on the collectors is that they provide information about where consumers can exercise their rights and how consumers can exercise their rights. However, as an individual consumer, we are all required to go look at every single potential person or entity doing business, find that information, and then exercise our rights on a service provider by service provider basis. And so this is really to make those rights more easy for consumers to exercise by having the Commonwealth publish, collect and publish a list of entities that are covered by Consumer Data Protection Act and the internet address of the information that they're supposed to provide us, so that consumers can have a kind of a one-stop shop to go find out how they can exercise their rights.
Somewhat similar, I guess, to do not call registry.
It's heading towards that direction,
yeah.
but this is more just making the information more easily consumable and available, which I think is an incremental step, but a good one. Jackie, I see you got her hand up.
Yes. Is it likely that they would have such a list? It seems to me that it's by definition that, that the entities that are covered are by definition, so they might not necessarily have a list if there's nothing that they're required to submit.
They might not today. But if-
And is does it also apply to governments?
It does not at this time.
I didn't think it did. So it's only private sector that we're talking about. And so of course I like it. I'm just wondering if it's the kind of thing that they're able to implement, because, as with many laws, it describes that who you are, that's subject to it. And then it's your responsibility to make sure that you follow it. And they don't necessarily know who all the places are that have to follow it.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's possible that like the State Corporation Commission might have this information. It's likely that they don't. I would imagine that if the Commonwealth or if the legislature were to take this up, they would have to collect this information to be able to publish it.
Because then it would be really adding a requirement that anyone who is subject to it register and provide this information.
Yeah, I kind of left out the implementing details because I don't know enough about what data we have and what we don't and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but am I right? That's kind of what we're asking.
I think that would be a reasonable solution, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so this is something we'd like them to do, and we're not going into the weeds on how they would make it happen.
That's right.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, my thinking here is that law passed in a broadly bipartisan fashion. And so there may be some appetite to making it incrementally more easy for consumers to exercise their rights. You're on mute, Jackie.
Even if they were required to post this, which would be an easier thing for the state to do, is to add a requirement that the location be posted, prominently posted. That would help if anytime you went to an organization, it was, privacy had to be listed and the location had to be listed.
I think that the challenge from a consumer's perspective is you may not even be aware that there are data brokers, for example, operating in the Commonwealth that have your data, because they're B2B, they're business to business facing entities, right? They're not, it's not someone that you do business with on a regular basis as a consumer. So without a single stop to go and find out all of the people who are subject to this, you might not even know where to look.
Yeah, so you kind of need your B2B list in order to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Very thoughtful.
I got one real quick. Wouldn't this fall under the CIO office at Virginia's Chief Information Officer?
It could. Last time we made a recommendation that specifically identified the organ of state government that should implement. We were told we picked the wrong one, so I've tried to keep it at the Commonwealth level and let the legislature and the administration decide who's going to implement if they decide to take it up. I would think it would probably be more likely the Secretary of Commerce or the State Corporation Commission or something like someone who's involved in the business landscape, because I think simplest solution to me would just be adding part of that information to the annual registration or filings that companies have to do. But,
right now registering, like at least an LLC, is really straightforward. So it would take something that's straightforward and making it complicated.
Potentially.
Federal legislation seems to have lost some momentum here. It's like they've got other fish to fry before a big data privacy bill gets moved at the federal level. But I think it'll still be an important item. But if there's a change in Congress, it may take a different tack.
See, I think you're right, Kevin. This would be an incrementally increase in the regulatory burden on these companies.
All right. Any other comments, questions, or are we ready to?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Something new. I don't sure understand where these come from. Who generates these? I mean, where do these come from? What's the source?
We did.
Okay, so in a previous meeting.
They're all topics that we've discussed in previous meetings generally, and I tried to synthesize them because we've been asked to provide legislative recommendations to
This
the
is
board.
an annual, I guess, remit of ours.
Yeah, every year the board adopts legislative priorities for our legislators that are important to Arlington County. So
Thank you for that.
sure.
Yeah.
And they always include our points, right?
I don't believe we've made the list yet.
Yeah. I think there might have been one once, I think.
Yeah. Kevin, is that concern strong enough for you that you would not support this?
No, I think you have it written generally enough. It doesn't call out. Let me read it again. Just says it should do it, but doesn't say being under commerce. So no, I think I'm fine with it.
All right.
But does DTS have their own set of recommendations? Let go.
Not prepared to comment at this time.
Okay.
How about for saying developing a mechanism for publishing information instead of just publishing?
The Commonwealth should develop a mechanism to publish
For
a list of
publishing. It's a little bit more broad. It doesn't narrow them down.
Why would you have a mechanism? Why would you have a mechanism if you weren't going to publish it?
Well, because we're trying to be a little more broad here. Because we were just talking about the concern about increasing the regulatory burdens. So we're trying to have some language that can possibly finesse that.
Yeah. My personal opinion is that the increased regulatory burden is de minimis, would be likely de minimis, and the value out of this would actually make this law do what the legislature intended.
Well, what I'm suggesting doesn't undermine that or contradict it. It's simply a fine tuning of the language to be a little bit more broad is all I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
It's not suggesting that this is not something we should follow.
I just think I don't.
Wouldn't it be easier to ask them to make clear any entities which are not covered? Or the
loss
category, right? I'm just concerned about administrative burden of not only compiling this list, but maintaining it.
Sure. So the section that I'm referencing is specifically the scope section of the law that says this is who this law applies to. Right. So defining the negative, I think, would be even harder. If we want to table this for this year and chew it over, I'm happy with this. Like, this is nothing that we discussed before, so.
Right.
I mean, in a sense, it focuses on a list. You know, there can be other fashions of promulgating information other than a list, and what exactly would the list be? It's easy to gloss over that, but I think the difficulty can be in the details, and I'm not sure just how that list would work, which gets me back to the recommendation of developing a mechanism rather than saying a list, because what's a list and what's the burden of producing a list? Who's going to do the list? Who's going to maintain it?
So should develop and publish
A mechanism
How about
Or develop a mechanism
For
for
publishing.
publicizing.
the entities?
Develop a mechanism for publicizing. So again, it's more general than publishing, but somehow make the public aware of it, which is the underlying intent. Versus publishing means, well, what do you do, a list, a book, whatever. So I think publicizing gets to the point, but it's broad enough, it gives the flexibility to determine how to do it.
I'd leave it right there.
Should publicize.
So as the entities that are covered by,
Yeah, because
Along
that,
with
that
the
leaves
internet.
the mechanism open to their discretion.
yep, that's better.
And I'm not in favor of tabling this. I would like to go forward.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of time in the last year on
On
privacy,
data.
and I think this is a good, positive step forward.
All right.
Can you read what we have?
It's up on the screen and on the screen
Oh.
share. The Commonwealth should publicize the entities that are covered by section of the Consumer Data Protection Act, along with the internet address, the information required under section whatever, so that consumers may more easily exercise their rights under the act.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I move we adopt.
I second.
Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? Abstentions? I think that's another clean sweep. All right. And then we have the virtual participation, which wasn't circulated this morning, but is up there now.
So
This
this
is from
is
Bill, is it?
This is a workshop's version of what Phil
Workshop,
sent
okay.
me.
All right. Okay.
For further workshopping and discussion. This is simple. We all know it and love it. The rules that the Commonwealth, the legislature adopted for virtual meetings seemed unreasonably onerous, given our experience during the pandemic and successful virtual meetings. So just should expand the options, virtual participation options for meetings subject to the Virginia Open Meeting Statutes, with a simple statement that virtual participation increases the opportunity for participation by members of advisory panels and the public.
John's a whole lot more polite than I am. I suggest we urge repeal of Virginia Code 2.2-3707 as arbitrary and gratuitous,
And capricious.
just plain meddlesome for the system that was working just fine. In fact, it was working better than ever.
Right. Yeah. And we anticipate that other commissions, as well as maybe the county itself, will also be making recommendations along these lines. So this is our offer.
Yes.
Yes.
I can add a little bit of context.
Okay.
So prior to COVID, there was not a well understood or strongly codified system for virtual meetings. With the emergency orders put in place for COVID, virtual participation was allowed, but that was not something, and this is my understanding through our legislative department, it wasn't legislated, it was emergency orders. The legislature has decided to implement a 25% rule, which is what you've been reacting to with the new policies we had to pass and all of that. So the legislative folks are saying we've gone from statutorily 0 up to 25, even though for all intents and purposes, it feels like we went from 100 down to 25. Legislatively, we're being told we went from 0 up to 25. The consensus developing among jurisdictions is to try and push for a move from 25 to 50. I'm sure there are plenty of people who also want to go from 25 back to 100% of meetings being allowed to be virtual, but we're not sure how successful that lobbying will be. So we certainly are willing to participate in any sort of conversation about that. But just for your writing purposes or your thought purposes, we're responding to a Commonwealth decision to go from legislatively 0 up to legislatively 25. That's what's in the law now. And you'd like to advocate for a change from 25 to X, whatever you as a commission would like to advocate for.
Yeah, that's why I just left it as more
Yeah.
and like more options. Trying
More
to keep
flexibility.
it, just kind of keep
I
it
think if you
simple.
want to change, you should ask for what you want, not pretend to be in a negotiation where you don't even know who you're negotiating with. I think
Full.
all virtual is a working program, and it seems like it could be continued, and that would increase citizen participation in their government, and that's a good thing.
There's an element of what Phil is saying that really speaks to me because we learn through our experience
Yeah.
that it works. You know, so on the one hand, you can say previously we had 0 and we're going to 25%. Well, that's just in the abstract. It ignores the fact that we've experienced how successful it could be during COVID, and everyone that we can see that is on the ground and commissions like ours pretty much unanimously seems to say this works better for the commission, it improves the attendance, not only for the commissioners, but also for the public. So it's an all-around positive. So getting back to Bill's comments, why don't we make that point more clear
Right.
in what our recommendation is? Because that is in fact,
Right.
you know, if we want to go around the table and
And
take a poll,
re-
but I sense that's
Right.
our position.
We have the benefit of being in the smallest geographic county in the nation. And so our getting here is physically is relatively convenient compared to somebody in Southside Virginia who may have to travel 50 miles on windy roads at night.
Well, but they also don't have to fight Arlington traffic, so.
That's true.
Could I at least read
But
what?
they don't have the
say?
public transit.
Go ahead, Phil.
Yes.
We urge repeal of Virginia Code XXX, which sets hard limits on virtual meetings of advisory commissions. While perhaps well-intended, this gratuitous regulation actually works against voluntary citizen participation in their government. Attendance at ITAC meetings was never higher than during the COVID pandemic, when all sessions were held via video conference. In addition, under the new regime, we have an unhealthy undercurrent of resentment and resistance that curbs enthusiasm for carrying out our public mission. I might add, leads some to search for subterfuges to prevent the implementation of this new code. Like feigning illness.
Not that we're questioning any of our members.
I have two thoughts. I agree entirely with the sentiment.
Yeah.
Gratuitous needs to come out. It's just going to aggravate people, I think. And a little bit TLDR. You can get the point too long, didn't agree with this time to make the point. But it's the substance I totally agree with.
Jackie, you got your hand up?
Yes, I definitely agree with the substance that was just presented. I do think one of the things about a general statement is that, and maybe I'm wrong about this, is that the relationship of the open meeting laws and how they apply to both elected boards that are making decisions for the public versus advisory groups that simply advise the boards, I think is an important distinction. So it may be that they need to decouple those so that the rules that apply, because I think that's one of the problems, is right now they're saying any of the rules that apply to the board applies to us. And I don't think I would want to have the board be able to have all virtual meetings. So I do think it's important to say that this should apply to commissions who are composed of volunteer residents, because that is what we're trying to do, is increase civic participation. We're not advocating that the board be able to meet only virtually.
Suppose we added at the start of the second sentence, as we learned during the height of the epidemic. Sorry, that was a tongue twister. Virtual participation increases. So we're stating that we learned this, that it was empirically demonstrated.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
valid
I
use
agree
case.
with that. That's good. I also think Jackie's
During
making
the height of
an
the
important point that there is a distinction.
Yes.
I think that can be
Those
made
with, right.
versus, we're not the board and we're actually
And we're not-
acting in a governmental fashion. We are advisory, the Citizens Advisory Commission,
Right.
which is not the same as sitting on the county board and doing what.
Right,
they
and
do.
there are
Tasks.
there are certain other boards below the county board that do have decision-making authority. I guess, what is it, the
Planning commission.
zoning board of appeals, I think, and I think there's a couple others, right, that have actual decision-making authority, but we have zero.
No, but I mean, in fact, we probably don't. They give us the courtesy of allowing us to make our advisory
Right.
opinions noted to them, but it's not binding. So
Correct.
it's nice that they're doing it, but in fact.
But there are
Is
certain,
that
right, there are
their
certain
level?
bodies that do have, and so there ought to be.
I just think that the way the law is right now, one of the things, and this is just a memory, and so obviously someone who has expertise on what it is would be important, but my memory is that the argument that we were hearing from our board members was that whatever applied to them also applied to us. And so to me, it seems like in order to accomplish this argument for civic engagement, we need to decouple what the legislation that applies to elected decision-making boards from volunteer advisory boards.
Right.
Or
So
Doesn't that new language address that?
yeah, I made some
concern?
adjustments, Jackie.
All right,
You want to consider adding something to the fact that says that doesn't have decision authority, because you said there are some boards with decision authority, maybe we want them to come in, again, on news, I don't know, just throw it out there.
I think it starts to get really,
Yeah, that, I think unelected advisory,
I think that may
Commissions.
handle it there by doing the advice, because I think those others have it, I'm just not sure what the legal description is in Virginia, but I think there is a separate category. I know at least in Arlington, there are these, and I believe other counties have.
yeah, and the word advisory, I think actually covers that distinction.
Right, I think so.
so Phil, I've upped it to all unrestricted. Ask for the whole enchilada.
I would prefer to eliminate restrictions on unelected advisory commissions setting their own rules on virtual meetings.
I think this would allow for that.
No, it just says they should expand virtual participation options.
But then he says to allow for unrestricted virtual participation.
I think.
Well, also, if you leave in that sentence, it says subject to Virginia open meeting statutes. This is the open meeting statute we're talking about. And so it can't be subject to that. We're trying to change that.
Sorry, I probably phrased this improperly in the editing. The idea is that for the commission's meetings that are subject to the open meeting statutes, right?
Yes, except we're saying that we don't want them to be subject to the same open meeting statutes as the board.
Well, we're saying we'd like those statutes to be amended. So where I was about to go with Phil's recommendation is that
Okay.
I think it's a bridge too far to ask the legislature to strike down open meeting statutes or exempt us from.
Never proposed that.
But before, to what Richard was saying, before the pandemic, before that law was passed, the only way we could not meet in person is under, well, not the only way, but the reason why we could do it during the pandemic was because of the declared state of emergency.
Right.
That was the exemption in the open. So they added exemptions to it. We think they need to add more exemptions to it to be fully unrestricted.
Yeah, it's just if you use that subject to the meeting law when you're talking about amending it, I think that's a little confusing.
What, wouldn't you say something like the Commonwealth should modify the Virginia Open Meetings statutes to allow for blah, 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 unelected advisory commissioners to meet virtually?
I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
At their discretion.
I think that's good.
That's good.
All right. Do you want a full reading, or is everybody good reading it now?
I'm good.
All right. Any other proposed revisions to the language, or are we ready to move to adopt?
I so move.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Abstentions? Okay, carries.
That must be satisfying.
All right, we got 4. All with, that's pretty good, all right. let's
Under
see.
an hour. Not
That's
bad.
right, not bad. I assume we have no other proposed, because I think 4 is about our maybe unofficial limit anyway, so I think probably ought to call it anyway. That brings us to.
Declare victory.
That's right. That brings us to legislative update, me. How about that? Okay, what do I have? Oh, the University of Pennsylvania's Law School released a study earlier this year analyzing long-term financial viability of municipal fiber networks. Over the longer term, only 2 of 15 projects studied generated sufficient cash flow to cover initial debt ahead of maturity deadlines. With overbuilds, municipal systems are not likely to gain subscribers very quickly after launch because incumbent providers tend to lower prices in response to a new market entrant.
Right.
Yes.
Could you send that around, please?
I actually, well, I
think
can
you
probably
just sent
find
it to
it
me.
again. Huh? Yeah, I think I sent it. Okay, yeah, I'll send a link to it anyhow.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Okay, I'll make myself. But yes, there is I think very relevant to our ongoing municipal.
Well, this pertains to our broadband authority
Yes.
initiative.
Yes, it does. Around. Or at least the article on it. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, with state and local government agency held local tests of the wireless emergency alerts (WEAs) on September 12th and 13th. I think that was in collaboration with our friends at FEMA, I believe. That was a FEMA production. And the reports I read said seems to be working better than it has in the past. But I think it's getting there. WEA, this is those alerts that you get on your, where it sounds like you get the beep and hopefully you're not sleeping, but they will wake you up. They're very loud, but anyhow, they're basically supposed to provide the narrowest, I think down to, zip codes or something, very narrow geographic alerts, which is our old friend, the EAS, the emergency alert, which is broadcast oriented, which covers the whole broadcast area of a television station or a radio station, or even satellite companies.
So if you mute your phone while you're sleeping, you're out of luck.
You want to be woken up by these.
They're actually,
So you're
when
telling
they-
me no
when they
longer to
activate
mute
them.
my phone at night?
No, it'll wake you up anyway.
Yeah.
It'll override your mute.
Oh, it
they're
will.
actually trying to do
That's my
much.
question.
Yeah, if you have it on, I think it will. Yeah, in fact, there are some new technologies. I think television that would actually turn your TV on to give the alert if it's off. I believe the new Next Gen TV standard has that as an option. I'm not sure that's being done yet, but
Hello,
privacy.
hello, hello.
But yes, Jackie's, oh, we got a hand
Yes.
up. Okay.
Yeah, I did, but it's hard to see, I guess.
Yeah.
They are actually, you said zip code, they're actually trying to do it so that it's closer to cell tower level, not zip code. They already have, the broad ones, and they're actually trying to be able to even triangulate so that it's not as broad even as multiple towers. And I'm not sure exactly where they are on that, but they have been working on that, and that is their intent, to be able to have it be um, at the cell tower level or even narrower than that. And then the other thing that they did, and they did this maybe 2 years ago, is they also have expanded the limit, the character limit that can be used for those messages. And they're trying to add, they, I think, agreed to add visual. I don't know where that was with the FCC, but they agreed at an emergency management, NOAA and FEMA agreed that they would add the ability to have pictures, so that, because the research shows that in persuading people to act, if you can give them a link they can click on that shows their location and the event relative to their location, the so-called milling around that happens before they act is radically reduced. So the visual is considered important. And that is only partially through the implementation. I don't know what the status of that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's been fully implemented yet. I don't believe.
It's not
so.
implemented
Yeah, it's
yet.
not implemented here, I know. But,
No, it's not.
I'm not
fully
sure if it's fully
implemented.
authorized or mandated at this point.
I think it was approved.
Yeah.
But you can check that. I think it was approved even 2 years ago, based on the research that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that actually, I think there are a number of places that are using it in their apps, that are using that same thing in their apps as opposed to WIA. So I'll ask. I'm on the Red Cross app design committee, so I will ask them.
Okay, all right. I'll check some of my sources too to see if I can get any more detail on that. At the end of August, Comcast introduced new pricing for Xfinity Mobile. 2, 3, and 4 lines of unlimited service for $30 per line. Comcast contends that the program can save customers up to 50% over AT&T, 45% over Verizon, and 25% over T-Mobile for 2 lines. FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworth publicly shared the responses of the 15 mobile carriers regarding their data privacy and retention policies. She has now asked the FCC's Enforcement Bureau to investigate whether wireless carriers fully disclose use and sharing of customer location data. The Government Accountability Office, GAO, has called for comprehensive legislation governing online privacy because consumers may be unaware of how their data are being collected and used. One area of concern are consumer scores, which aren't the same as credit scores and might present unknown risks. Comcast again announced that it will be collaborating with Samsung to deliver 5G RAN service to Xfinity Mobile and Comcast Business Mobile customers in Comcast service areas. This will include a newly developed 5G CBRS strand small cell that can be deployed on Comcast aerial cable lines. That is the strand which will enable cable operators like Comcast to more easily and cost-effectively provide 5G cellular service, leveraging existing infrastructure without having to build or acquire additional cell sites. Comcast will use mid-band CBRS and low-band 600 megahertz spectrum to supplement its existing Wi-Fi and MVNO service. Let's see. All right, that concludes this month's legislative update. We have the June 2022 minutes were circulated. We have not yet received the August 2022 minutes, so those will be circulated and reviewed when they are completed. But did we have any comments on the June 2022 meeting minutes? No. I will entertain a motion to adopt those minutes.
I move we adopt the minutes.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Okay. DTS update, Richard?
Yes, I have a question right now for you about minutes, actually, first.
All right.
So I'll start with that. I wanted to ask if you would consider putting on the agenda the election of a secretary for the group. The boards and commissions that we support around the county, largely, to my knowledge, you're the only one who doesn't have that position and doesn't manage their own minutes. So given staff constraints, we'd like for you to have a secretary who is responsible for the minutes, and then I can coordinate getting those minutes posted and such on the public website. So for consideration, would like to see that on the agenda. Otherwise, DTS updates. Norin was my agenda item today. I did answer some questions for you via writing. If you want to talk about some of those questions, I'm happy to do that as well. But I don't have any specific topics to cover tonight.
Okay, well, why don't you touch on those answers real quickly if you've got it available, or I can pull it up.
Sure.
I think there's only about two or
Yeah.
three quick ones.
There were three questions, and I may not be going in order here, but the first and easiest question was, would Arlington Public Schools be appointing another person to serve as liaison to ITAC? So I have put that question to the folks at APS, and I have not received a name back. So I will follow up with them again in the next month and let you know if they do have someone or if I don't hear back. But I will chase that one for a little bit longer. You mentioned at the top of the meeting that Cheryl, we are getting ready to go to public comment, and I think we will be ready by the October meeting to have a public comment session for the cable renewals. I've got one last hurdle to go through internally before I ask you for your assistance as the commission to have that meeting. So once I pass that last internal hurdle, you should hear from me in the next few days, and we can get that scheduled for October.
All right, and the one concern, public notice, I recall that there was a specific amount of notice which may be greater than our typical meeting notice.
Right, and that's what I'm nailing down is what is the notice requirement. And then lastly, there was a question about CBRS and the pilot we did. And the message I got to relay back is that due to local complexities with both commercial and defense wireless technologies that are operating in the Arlington area, we were unable to successfully deploy CBRS beyond our initial population of test users. It just did not prove to be a viable technology given our geography.
All right.
Richard, I have one question for you regarding the secretary position. Would that person have access to the transcription of the meetings? Because I don't think that transcription is access to just people who are on the Teams invite.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried that before, but I'm also happy to copy and paste and send it to someone.
I think that might make the job a lot easier and make more people willing to.
Sure, I understand.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm happy to commit to a copy and paste of the transcript if that will help.
I got a quick one.
Put it on.
And I have a hand from Kevin.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we just heard that Comcast is implementing CBRS technology to do 5G, and to, enhance their network and so forth. But you're saying we can't do it in Arlington. So does that mean they can't do it in Arlington?
They may not be able to do it in Arlington. I won't speak for Comcast, but given the unique nature of some of the wireless technologies deployed by our resident military partners, it may be very challenging.
I guess it is important on CBRS that there are basically certain levels of priority. There are parts of the band are open to the public, basically. And then there are parts that are basically have exclusive right or more exclusive rights that were purchased at auction. So it's possible that Comcast had, as we're aware that JBG Smith did down for Arlington as far as its project with AT&T, the pilot, the smart city pilot platform. They had purchased at several $1 million worth of spectrum in the CBRS band for that. So I guess we can ask Kevin Broadhurst whether there are plans to launch that, that product here in Arlington. Would be interesting. All right, I guess one other item that I guess is somewhat relevant, request to get an update from Arlington Independent Media. We have extended an invitation, or Gary has, and we hope to get them on our agenda. If we're doing the cable franchise renewal hearing in October, we would hope maybe to get them for the November meeting, which brings us to our next item, the November meeting. Well, it just so happens that the fourth Wednesday in November is November 23rd, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Traditionally, that is a date we try to steer clear of. I would propose that we seek to have our November meeting on November 16th, the third Wednesday. We could go to the 5th when there is November 30th, but I will be not here then. I will be flying to the Southern Hemisphere, so, and south of the, anyhow. So I would propose that we try to schedule our November meeting for the 16th, assuming we can get a meeting room. Does anybody have any, or would you like to meet on the 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving? I think that's a sure way of not having a quorum. But, all right.
16th works for me.
Okay, all in favor of the 16th? Say
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Abstentions? Okay, we'll move it to the 16th. Okay.
Now, shall we extend an invitation to Amy for the November meeting?
Yes, November. So you might let her know November. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and follow? Say it looks like our November meeting, November 16th. See, yeah, why don't we go ahead and see if we can get that firmed up? That way, we've got a date now. Assuming we have a place. Hopefully,
I will reach back out.
Okay.
To Whitney. They were able to do that.
Okay,
Mr.
good.
Chair,
Okay. Yeah, just keep
Mr.
this.
Chair, I'm not objecting to meeting then, but I do have a previous conflict that I will have to honor. So
Okay.
I won't be able to attend.
Okay. Always, all right, December is another tricky one. The fourth Wednesday is December 28th, which is in that magical week between Christmas and New Year's when everybody disappears.
I'd like to move that we use one of our three virtual meetings for the 28th.
Okay.
So that people can participate from wherever they are for the holidays.
Might be a good one. And moving it to the 21st, I think is not significantly better, to be honest. And again, I will be returning from the Southern Hemisphere on that day, so I'll have an overnight flight. So I might be back in time, but I'm not going to be feeling like doing a meeting on the 21st.
So when do the third or three per year, when does that reset that calendar?
I think we'll just,
That's a good question.
that is a good question.
We haven't used any.
Right, so.
So,
how-
yeah,
Calendar year or fiscal year?
I think Richard.
Yes,
yeah, the policy that set the number and type of virtual meetings that you adopted was not bound to a specific calendar, schedule, year, fiscal year, any of that kind of thing. So I would start your year from the date the policy was enacted, so our last meeting date. And from that date, 12 months into the future, you can have 3 all virtual meetings in that calendar year period, or in that 12-month period, I should say.
and the Virginia law actually kicked in September 1, so so we can use calendar months, I think. Real start.
That would probably simplify it for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Yeah.
yes, I would.
Rather than going August.
I would use that as your benchmark. Yeah.
Okay, 26. All right.
So I'm sorry, we're saying what now? What month?
So
From September.
September
Through
right,
September.
through August 31st.
All right, got it. Okay.
All right, so this would be our first one. So it would be all in favor of holding a virtual meeting on December 28th for our December meeting. Say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any nays? Okay. All right. So moved. All right. Prior to adjournment, I ask if anybody has any other business here for us to discuss or to schedule for the future.
I'll send this in writing, Richard, but I believe in October, the Department of Management and Finance provides its preliminary fiscal results and closeout recommendations to the board. So we'd want to know if there was any recommendations being made that would warrant ITech or Tech Commission input.
Is that request that we as a department are making for closeout?
That would be any recommendations that the county manager is making to the board that the board would benefit from our policy advice.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay. We're privy to our department, so
Sure.
we can potentially look and see if there's any in our departmental list that are going through that process for county manager recommendation. We don't see other departments, so there is a limitation in what I have access to.
Sure. I'll send it along, and if you could make the request,
Okay.
we'll do what we can.
Okay.
I had a question before
Yes,
we adjourn.
Jackie.
Maybe I just missed it completely, but I don't think we've had a report on the conclusion, maybe there hasn't been a conclusion, of the Clarendon Innovation Project. And I know it was extended. I don't know, since we no longer meet as a committee, I don't know how long it was extended or what the date is. And I don't believe we ever saw a final report. Whether we were part of it or not, I thought there was going to be a report, but there was a question as to what the manager would do with the report when he got it. So anyway, I'd like to know, did a report go to the manager? Number one, if it did, could we get a copy of it? Number two, I'd like to know, is that project still going, or has it been extended, or is it concluded? And what are the criteria by which it's going to be either extended or concluded? Because we were regularly in communication, and we've been out of the loop now since the committee was closed. But the public definitely still needs to know what's happened to that. It's just kind of out there now. I don't know whether they're still tracking it or not. Did we get a report I'm not aware of?
Yeah. If you can work with John to send those questions my way, I'll track down some answers. To the best of my knowledge, the pilot is continuing, so there hasn't been a conclusion. But I want to confirm that before I answer.
Okay, John, you want to shoot something since you're familiar with. Keeps coming back.
Secretary.
And since there is no longer is an EPAC, it's really on this commission is the only one that's tracking it.
And we did talk to our board liaison about that. And he was going to seek a briefing. Isn't that right, John?
Yeah, I believe he indicated that he and member De Ferrante were asking for an update.
Asking for a briefing from
Staff.
on that. So that being the case, it would seem that that a final report had not made its way to the board yet at this point. So, but we'll go ahead and ask Richard to see what he can find out, I guess, right?
Any other questions for Richard while I've got my email open?
This is your chance. All right. Going. All right. Okay, you got it. All right. That's it. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you
night, everybody.
for hanging in there.
Oh, absolutely. This was very informative.
This is where the magic happens.
It is.
Do I need to send that request for virtual meeting every night? Oops. Never mind.